My understanding now, we've arrived at the point where an individual, he or she, has entered the realm of good therapy. And the alternative realities that are present in fight or flight are very important for understanding what can be present in that moment. In other words, many therapists will treat those two alternatives as though they're poles apart, as though there's no connection between fight and flight, you see. But if we look upon flight as surrendering, giving in, putting the weapons down, despairing, not hoping any further, it means that I'm certain I will not get what I want, and I'm going to give up wanting it. On the other hand, the fight alternative implies I want it, I want to get it, and I'm going to be angry and aggressive and attack and whatever, you see. And it's hard to see that the disappointment of not getting what one needs, what one wants, especially in the childhood years, is at the center of that kind of experience. Now, the reason I think that's important is because it's understanding that paradoxical attack on one's own spirit that opens the door to the ability to do genuine therapy. In other words, I'm allowing myself to know that I was disappointed, that I was shamed, that I was attacked, that I was not given to, that I was taken from, whatever, you see. And what I can do in that moment is open the door to letting my genuine, authentic feelings be present. And there'll be a predominant quality, kind of passive, kind of hurt, kind of taken from. If I'm a flight person, aggressive, grasping, reaching out, attacking. If I'm a fight person, you see. Now, what I need to do is, as an individual, to realize that I do both. That, in other words, if I have the experience of primarily being deprived, not given to, taken from, if I have the experience predominantly of grasping, seeking, angrily asking for, you see, the fact of the matter is I may emphasize one side of that equation, but both are present, and that's the important thing. That's the important thing to know. Because what that does, to know that, to allow both sides of that equation into the therapeutic process, allows that individual to be fully present. And that's the important point. In other words, if I acknowledge the fact that I've been deprived, but I can't allow myself to have anything, how do I let myself have anything? If I realize that I've been deprived and I angrily and aggressively go seek, but how can I let myself have anything so I don't believe I'm allowed anything? That's what the anger really bespeaks, really indicates. And legitimately, you don't hear me saying that's wrong and therefore you should, look after yourself and learn to be forgiving and tolerant and all the rest of that stuff. You see, that's a lot of nonsense. What the most important thing to do in that moment is to acknowledge your own individual experience. I can't emphasize those words strongly enough, because there's a kind of tendency abroad today, it's shamelessly aggressive, to want to lump all of these experiences into disorders, and therefore into generalizations and into general judgments about things, you see. And what that does, in my opinion, it repeats the individual experience that you, I, he, she had when we were kids. The individual who's responsible for taking care of us and who is therefore responsible for recognizing, supporting, and validating the individuality which you are. Does he and she see how smart you are, how beautiful or handsome you are, how energetic you are. You see, how physical you are, how imaginative you are, how sexy and sexual you are, how hilarious you can be, how humorous you can be. You see, all of these qualities are yours individually. And the lack of recognition of those qualities is experienced individually by your own experience of it. Shut down, door closed, doesn't happen, whatever, you see. So the first step in the process, and that's getting past the either or quality of fight or flight, you see. It's a fight and flight. Oh shit. It's been a tough row, and I've been instructed not to have myself, not to know myself, not to judge properly about what my experience is, to dismiss what my experience is. In fact, I've been taught that I should be shamed for griping about it, for being a bad boy or a bad girl, you see. And so this kind of bad rap is almost automatic in the discipline. One client of mine talks about attending a group which he hopes to be very helpful, but he repeats, and it's his judgment, oh, that's bad, you're doing that wrong, or you shouldn't do that, don't do this, don't do that. You know, and after about 6 months of this, he'd had enough. Why do you want to repeat that? You had enough of that for 6, 12, 18 years, who knows, you see. So the doorstep of genuine self-development, the doorstep to genuine growth in life, is to admit the fullness of your feelings, your love and your hurt love, your anger and your ability to not be angry, your grasping quality and your ability to forgive, your ability to observe and know, and your ability to be blind and not get. You see, I'm capable of all of those things. And none of those is a wrong thing. It just so happens the way I react to my reality. You see. So what can I allow myself to be? So I can't emphasize too strongly that I see the position of growth to begin, to start, in the allowance of oneself between fight and flight, between give up on it all, grasp at everything, you see, and say, well, I knew, I was wise. I'm not blind, I was not wrong. You see, nothing, in my opinion, is more counterproductive than to make the kids wrong. Well, you're a bad kid. Well, you project, you're judging, you're all this. That's utter nonsense. You see, what needs to be honored is the genuine feelings that the child, as experiencing himself, really had with the adult individuals in his life. And you see, adults being who they are when we're kids, they have authority. They are the ones we're entrusted to. So they must do it right. They must be genuine. They must be seeing it correctly. And when they shame me for this or take that from me or don't recognize this or that, maybe there's something right about that, you see. And the hardest thing of all to get anyone to admit is that the kid is right, you see. What? You see, and that's, you know, in the 21st century, our definition of childhood is so hostile that it's amazing that kids make it through at all. Because the kid can't be right if he's doing this or doing that. If he's not doing this or not doing that, it's defective, it's wrong. And the kid's got to shape up, you see. The message is, you don't do it right. You don't know who you are. You don't get it. See? I thought I got it. I thought I understood. I thought my reaction was real, but they're telling me I'm not. Holy shit. Now what? You see? And I firmly believe that kind of confusion, that kind of contradictory message is the painful place that directly leads to the need for therapy, the need for development, you see. It's like the distance between what I see, what I feel, what I think, what I know, what I'm being told, what they're telling me, I'm allowed to know, or not allowed to know, or misjudging. Huh, you're angry. Huh, you're selfish. Huh, you're belligerent. You're a troublemaker. Say, oh my goodness. So before long, my genuine wants, my genuine needs for growth into an adult get attached to that kind of shaming, to that kind of negation. Don't you dare. What the devil do you want that for? What's wrong with you? Don't you know your mom and your dad have your best interest at heart? Oh, sure they do. You see? Maybe they do, maybe they don't. I'm not saying they automatically do. I'm not saying they automatically don't. But the prejudice in our culture is that they automatically do. And therefore the parents are invariably right and the kids are invariably wrong. And that's what leads to the disaster of modern childhood. So in my opinion, it's amazing that anyone survives it.